Yeah.
And that was what, 100-something years ago?
No, that was not too long ago.
How long ago? Not too long ago.
Guy Mehring did the
Yeah, like what's not too long ago?
What
like,
is not too long ago?
You were born a long fucking time ago.
Oh, that time.
About that time.
So that's
so like
the 1820s.
No, it's probably in the 70s, 80s.
I would think.
I actually want to push 80s.
all right. That's still before
Well, this
years.
bottom out here is it's soft about that deep.
Yeah.
On top of sediment. And it's been that way for years. And all the storms we've had, the tide fluctuating and all, it could still be out there and be probably 4 or 5 feet down.
We got Justin.
What? Because he's taller than all of us?
No.
Yeah. That's, what do we
What?
say?
Dude, he dove the Peace River, man. He went down.
Oh.
Yeah, man. He was awesome with that.
Because I've never heard of anybody ever looking in that basin for anything.
Yeah. Because
Everybody's always been up the creek.
I read that story by accident, and I saw that he actually had found it. He came back. He left what was in the water. Came back, got the rest of it, loaded that up, and took off. It was never seen again. So whatever's sitting in the water is still there.
Are you that popular?
Yeah. Dude, you don't even have
back in
friends.
those-
I know.
Back in those days,
He
when
set
that
a thing on
happened,
his phone to retext himself.
there would be fish in the creek. He would probably be blowed up over on this side because it kind of like makes a basin. You've seen it. Makes like a basin. He could do stuff there and not be seen, like loading it from the beach. And then when he pulled it out, people see his boat, wouldn't know anything about it, what he had in it. So if he did, it's over in this basin over here. I would think. I wouldn't try to load my boat
Apparently
out
you
here in
make
the
a
creek.
rule about
because that
silence and
current runs out in
songs.
the creek, it runs pretty good.
Well, wherever
out
he,
there?
I would imagine wherever the closest distance was, which
they're
would probably be
commenting on
with
the
that
post office
dock
posted
right
by
over
you right
out
now.
front right here.
Yeah, that's in the lagoon there.
Better have been about my big snake that I saw.
Or lack thereof.
The jewelry vault. Can we get a pontoon boat for sure back there? Which truck?
The one you got, I gave you.
It's on
Big
there?
one.
So Albert said
It's in
his
the car.
pontoon
The
boat,
big
he can
car
get in
gave
2
us
feet of
over
water.
It's in the car.
It shows that a little bit. I'm gonna get a better detailed chart. Thing 1-on-1.
I mean, if you think we can fit a pontoon there, I have somebody that has a pontoon boat. Because his boat.
There's a channel up there. I know they run these 24-foot Daniels up there. I've been 30 years. I've been that far.
Well,
in a
dude.
boat.
Yeah, there's reasons.
Well, we need that to look for the cannons. Supposedly, the grandfather had netted it around right by
Netted
the.
what?
In Little Gasparilla Pass.
Cannons.
Oh, the cannons.
I've been hung up a lot out there fishing.
Well, this is where the pass used to be, Little Gasparilla. And
It's all closed in now, right?
oh yeah,
It's moved all over the place.
my wife's father.
I didn't think it existed anymore.
It don't. It's also filled in. But when the worst sisters hate it because be there for a while, you couldn't do anything. All of a sudden, it's wash out a little bit. First year you get the nets out, it hang up, tear the nets up and stuff, you know. And they had seen the barrel of the cannon several times. But it was just, he's about 10, 12 feet down then when it's on.
Well, remember the story you told us about the sword? Where did he actually find that sword?
He didn't find that. That's when other treasure hunters came down and they talked to him because my father had been there that long. And oh, he knew a lot about it. And they had maps like you got. And he was showing them, well, this is this, and this is where this used to be, and this is now called this, whatever. And they went. They were going about 4 or 5 days. And they come back and they called him up, wanted to know if they could meet him about 9:30, 10 o'clock that night at his house. And he said, sure. Because he'd met him, he wasn't where. And they said, we want to show you something. And they went up to the car, and they brought in a sword. My wife saw this. Sword, all encrusted, had a gold cross. She was about that long. Had a few jewels on it, had some coins, and a little necklace.
So he never said
He
where.
never said where they found it, where they got it. They were gone 3 or 4 days before they ever came back. Of course, they went one day and got it and just waited around.
Or it could have been checking the first day, got it second day or whatever, and then searched the same area.
You got that chart. Look at that chart. I'll show you.
That I know was that
Yeah.
they had found a sword, but not the handle, and that's where they found the treasure.
It's not a handle. It's a hilt.
Or whatever it's called. A cutlass.
Well, Dick Stinnett out of Sarasota, he's on the pineapple dealership there. He was one of the 4 that was involved in Carapalao.
And what?
Carapalao.
What's that?
Carapaloo,
Listen, I'm over
Kayapaloo,
Oh,
Kayapaloo, yeah.
He went over, and I saw some of this with my own eyes.
The other half of the sword.
See
It's a
that?
sword.
There's 3 or 4 bought the island together. They had a map,
Concrete?
and he went over once they bought it one weekend on his own. And I went to get a card from him. He took me in his office
Pull tab.
Pull tab.
and he showed me. He opened his drawer, pulled out about 8 or 10 coins, old coins, silver, been cleaned up. He
Looks
said
like
he
a
found the
femur
chest.
bone?
He said it was about that long, about that wide, and about that high. This was like, I got about 71, 72.
Do you remember the guy's name who found it?
Dick Stinnett.
Is it a cinder block?
What's his name?
Dick Stinnett.
Dick Stinnett.
He used to own Stinnett Pontiac in Sarasota.
Cinder block.
I wonder if he's
And,
still alive.
He said then he'd sold $168,000 worth out of it. He said there was half of it left
Damn.
From the trailer runs here.
from that one little chest.
Mike.
And then
Level block.
I worked for Brunswick Corporation. I told them. One year they brought a couple fellas there, treasure hunters. And they had stuff out of the Spanish archives, had the seals, archives of Spain. Lieutenant in the Spanish Navy, which back in those days they kept packing the records, said they sunk Jose Gaspar's ship off of Bogran Pass, out of Bogran Pass. He did not die. He jumped overboard and got away. Went in and changed his name to Juan Gomez. Okay? My wife's ancestors came in the late 1800s. They ran into Juan Gomez. Juan Gomez stood a little over 6 feet tall. Jose Gaspar supposedly stood a little over 6 feet tall. And there's my wife's ancestors, which was the they came from Spain to Cuba. And Gomez recommended Palmasola would be a good place for them to establish a homestead. I got pictures now. The homestead they built the house in 1884 and they homesteaded in 1889. I got pictures of that at the house. And these men was talking about it. They went over to Caraplau, excavated it. With track hose, a dump truck, lights, and armed guards.
I'd like to know how the hell they got all that stuff out there. By a barge?
They're supposed to have walked it. Go see
From through Bogus Hole. Can you
Around
imagine
Bo-
doing that shit?
around Bogus Hole. They walked the track go out, and then the barge took some more people out. Over here, Dick's Marinas, elder Dixon got watch him. But their son called me the other night, asked me anything about the gold hole. I said, yeah, it's behind my house, supposedly. We talked about it. He said, yeah. He said, he remember taking some men over to Caraplau. They had a track over there and got it stuck. He said he took them over with a small dozer, some other equipment, front end loader and stuff. Well, these two, I've said nothing about this until I talked to you the other day we were down. This happened early 80s when these men was talking. They didn't think when they done it. They told about having the armed guards working. They hauled a truckload of stuff out off Carolina. Well, in the early 70s, I saw that chest that Dick Stinnett had got. Then, around 2000, 2001, a friend of mine, you know, meet his brother, Farrell Davis, long-time English family, was telling about him and his brother used to go around the islands. The kids do nothing around here, except go out in the boat water. They live in Inglewood, went to Caraplau. This 20 years later, he's telling me about going to Caraplau, seeing the men with all the floaters and stuff, all the stuff out on the truck with armed guards. He's from Inglewood. He was a respectable man, honest. He was no bullshit artist. He's telling the same thing those men told me over 20 years before. He doesn't say anything. He started talking about Caraplau, and I told him. And he started talking about people in the helicopter. They went someplace
In Panther Key, remember?
in Panther Key. But these fellas, they went over there and worked. They told it. Farrell Davis told me 20, 25 years later. Now the other night, Sylvester Dixon said they was on the barge. They took police on a barge out of Elders Marine over here, over Little Gaspella. They took them over there with some equipment and stuff. There's a bunch of men over there and stuff, all kind of digging equipment.
As of right now?
No, this was when that was going on.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's 3 different stories. Three times the same story's been told. General description.
Now what about the jewelry bowl? What have you ever heard about the jewelry bowl?
I just heard there's supposed to be some special thing that Gomez or Gaspar is buried. That was it. That's what I heard on that. That's what you told me. But I did hear that Carl Creek used to have an access further up going to the Gulf. And that's why the canyon's a little Gasparilla Pass, where it's cut through to back to Carl Creek, supposedly. And that's all I know about that. And the prong up there is that general area. You know, just maybe the creeks of the deep waters here, maybe it's half, 3/4 of a mile over to here where you're looking at. He had men doing a lot of work for him. They're not gonna just go in a boat, they ain't gonna bury it along the coast. They're gonna put it inland so it'll make it harder to find.
Do you ever think that the amount of stories we hear that all surround the same thing, how much truth is within them? Because when you have different stories, we have different stories from different people about close to the same things. How much, there's got to be some semblance of truth. Well, every lie has a semblance of truth.
Yeah, well, most
So,
stories are, even the biggest tale is based on something factual.
Exactly, based on a factual statement.
Well, when I was over at UZEPA before Charlie came through and poured upstairs on it, they had a historical museum up there. And they had copies out of the newspaper and stuff. UZEPA is actually supposed to be spelled U-S-E-F-F-A. UZEPA. Somehow it got changed name because UZEPA was supposed to have been Gaspar's wife, number one woman, whatever you want to call her. He lived on the north end of UZEPA, but it was High Island. When Collier bought it, had the house, which is where they feed you on now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His son was there one night. The mom and dad went to town. The only way to get to use Epsom by boat, then and now.
They're members.
Yeah, they went to Pine Island. You know, they went. They said, "We may be back tonight, may not." That night, this was written, and the son wrote it in the newspaper, pictures of it, but like all destroyed. The son heard the boat come to the front dock, which the front dock is on that side of the island, not where the marina is.
Yeah, it's the old dock.
Nobody came up. So his son was by himself. He walked out toward the dock, looked, didn't see nobody, so he left. He heard a boat leave, didn't see nobody, left. Next morning, the parents came in and they brought supplies, so they pulled in the service dock back in the back. There used to be a generator stuff back here for the power for the island. He went down and met them and told them what happened. They went down, they could see sand on the dock and footprints leading off the dock. And it seemed to me like they said the footprints went to the right. If you're walking out toward it, went to the right off the dock, which made it going south. And they could see where something flat had been set on the ground in the dock, on the sand. They followed the footprints and went to the base of a tree and had a picture of it. There's a hole of it, like about that wide. And you can see where it was flat, where something was drug out. They found 3 or 4 gold coins. And then the footprints come back to the dock, and you can see the outline of the chest on the dock where they set it down in the sand. They had a picture of it, and they left with a boat. They don't know how much, how big, who, nothing. But they had pictures, and it was in the press. They told it. Colliers wouldn't have been that kind of people to start a bunch of bull, especially something like that. They would, the least thing they wanted was audience, and crowds.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they bought the island.
We're gonna check it out.
And then it goes on about the Black Pirate used to live down there on Fort Myers Beach, that area.
Where were these pictures? In the paper?
The pictures of the treasure, the chest and everything was in the newspaper.
Newspaper?
It was in the Fort Myers Press.
Do you remember what year it is?
No, sir.
Okay.
You could look up on Collier's ownership, find when he took it over, when he built the house and stuff.
Yeah, it would have been early 1900s.
They said that Black Pirate came up and he talked to Jose Gaspar because he didn't want to encroach in his territory because he heard how ruthless he could be. And he wanted to work south and southern area. And Gaspar said, yeah, because he would use him for an alarm. Somebody tried to come in from the south to get him. There'd be a cannon battle down there. He could hear it and he'd go out through the Boat Grand Pass. So.